Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, my prediction on the Raiders' plan at quarterback with Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce, and Luke Getsy as the offensive coordinator. All good plans, you need to have multiple steps. Like, you need to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. I'm going to tell you what each and every one of those are for the Silver and Black. But if you've ever wondered, Mitch, why should I subscribe to the Raiders Report? If there's one thing I feel like I've gotten right on this channel, it's quarterback predictions. And last offseason, we predicted that Derek Carr was going to get moved on from, that the Raiders would sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and that they would draft Aidan O'Connell. So guess what? I got the track record, but then if you also want news and rumors videos, because the way that you find the plan out for QB is following the latest news, following the rumors. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and I'm going to be bringing the fire each and every day this season. So hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and when we go live, we get pretty lit here, and I don't want you to miss it. So here, let's go look at the Raiders' quarterback plan, and the way that this is going to go is just like every good plan. And I think when I say this, I want y'all to think about when you come up with something. Like, there's going to be a plan A in every situation that you do. And what good people do is they're prepared for plan B. Well, what happens if plan B doesn't go well? Well, then you go with plan C. Oh, Mitch, what happens if plan C doesn't go well? Well, then you got to look to plan D. Bottom line is, you need to have all these things laid out. And to me, plan A is probably the most simple one out of the entire equation. I know what Tom Telesco likes. I know what Antonio Pierce likes. I know the type of offense that Luke Getsy runs. And I think a lot of times people think of the Luke Getsy offense being very old school minded, and it's actually a lot more spread than actually what I originally thought. Yes, there are some screens. Yes, he does want a vertical passing game. But the Luke Getsy offense is a lot more creative after I've watched a lot more film on it than I originally anticipated. But plan A for the Las Vegas Raiders is this guy. It's Jayden Daniels, the quarterback for LSU. To me, if you were to ask Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco, Luke Getsy, in a perfect world, in your perfect world, that's what plan A should be. Perfect world, who's your guy? It's Jayden frickin' Daniels. Here's the thing, though. The only way that you can assure yourself that you're going to get Jayden is by trading up to the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. Because you can't sit here and say, oh, we could trade up to 3. He might not be there. And you're not going to trade all the way up there to not get your guy. And this is a report that's from Jeremy Fowler that was released today. The Las Vegas Raiders, at pick number 13, might be a team to watch for Jayden Daniels. New coach Antonio Pierce is a big fan of Daniels from their days together at Arizona State. And word is that Pierce evaluated offensive coordinators with the loose possibility of Daniels in mind. That is a source coming from Fowler telling you that, guess what? Jayden Daniels has been mentioned and has been in conversations with Antonio Pierce. But here's the thing. The only way that you're going to guarantee yourself getting Jayden Daniels is if you trade up to the number 1 pick. Now, I'll tell you this. If you're going to give me some far-fetched idea of what it's going to cost to get up to number 1, I'm not going to do it. If you give me a fair and honest trade evaluation to go up to that number 1 pick, well, then, yes, I am going to do it. But you know what? This show's about all of y'all, and I want you to go down in the comment sections right now and let me know, yes or no, should the Raiders trade up for the number 1 pick? If you want Jayden Daniels, go frickin' do it. I think at times you got to be able to make tough decisions in life, but when you know you want something, go get it. And if Jayden turns out to be that franchise quarterback, it's worth every single pick. And here's the other thing, and I know it's a crazy idea, but there's a little bit of a part of me, and I know it from the movie Draft Day. There's a little bit of a part of me that kind of wants to say, F you, Cliff Kingsbury, F you to the Washington Commanders, trade up to number 1. You pick up the phone, you give Cliff Kingsbury a call, and you go, we're taking Caleb Williams at number 1. Unless you want him. Then you just trade it up to 1, you go back to number 2. It's an insane idea to even throw out there, but if there's ever been a chance where I think it might actually happen, you tell them you're going to draft Caleb, they trade up to 1, you trade back to 2, and then you get your guy Jayden Daniels plus some extra picks. Believe me, it's crazy, but that's what plan A here is for. So the other reason why that I'm confident that they want Jayden Daniels and that this is where they were going to go no matter what over Caleb Williams, over Drake Maye, look at the timeline. Daniels' Heisman speech. Shout out to Antonio Pierce. Shout out to Marvin Lewis. Guess what? Both of them are here. Jayden Daniels in the locker room after Week 18 when the Raiders beat the Donkeys. Devontae Adams speaks highly of Jayden Daniels this offseason. Daniels says that he wants to be a Raider, and when I say that he wants to be a Raider, it's from a social media post where Shout out to Sella here. Tracks down Jayden Daniels. Basically says Heisman Trophy winner Jayden Daniels said he wants to come to the dark side. Guess who likes this tweet right here? This guy, Antonio Pierce. Where there is smoke, there is fire, and I get it. There is a lot of speculation. But to me, when people in the NFL do this type of thing, you need to watch. You need to listen. And no, it might not ever come into fruition. But I know for a fact that Antonio Pierce is the type of coach, when he wants somebody, he's going to go out and get him, just like he did with Jack Jones. And if that's their guy and this is the dude that they're trying to build around, then yes, I do think that this is the dude that they're rolling with. So to me, this is the entire Plan A situation. Raiders trade up to number 1. You get Jayden Daniels at a fair offer, and then you roll with Aidan O'Connell as the backup. If you're wondering, Mitch, what exactly would it cost to trade up to number 1? The cost, according to a source close to me at the NFL Draft, said it's probably going to be around your first 3 picks this year, your first 3 picks next year, and then a starting caliber player. If that's what it costs to get Jayden Daniels, I'll do it. It's going to cost a lot. I get it. But then again, I'm going to pick up the phone, and I'm going to give Cliff Kingsbury a call, and I'm going to say, we're taking Caleb Williams, throw me an extra pick or 2, and then let's make this thing happen. Coming up next here on the show, Plan B for the Las Vegas Raiders. And Plan B is the one, I'll be real with you, is the plan that I think is the most likely to happen. So I'll tell you what the most likely plan is for the Silver and Black. But first, I got to tell you about our sponsor today, Prize Picks. And I think a lot of Raider fans are just like me. I think a lot of Raider fans are out there like, what the heck am I going to do on Sunday when the 49ers and Chiefs play? I don't want to root for the 49ers. I don't want to root for the Chiefs. Mitch, tell me what to do. Here's honestly what you should do. You should go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. It is daily fantasy sports made easy. There's a reason why it's the number 1 daily fantasy sports app out there, and you can put some money in your pocket. Like for me, for this big game, I put down $20. I have a chance to make $200. But the reason why this is the perfect game for Raider fans is because if you pick a player, right, and you pick receiving yards, rushing yards, all I need is 1 catch from Juszczyk, passing yards with Mahomes. I mean, I don't care what it is. You're going to watch that game, and all you're going to care about is to make sure Pacheco scores a touchdown, to make sure Brock Purdy, if once he starts scrambling, you're going to be up on your feet. You're going to be like, go Purdy, pick up that first down because I want to get the more on Prize Picks. Bottom line is you're going to be entertained for the entire game with a chance to make some money. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your intelligence here. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Let's go to Plan B here for the Raiders at quarterback. It is the Raiders sign Kirk Cousins in free agency and trade up in the draft for Bo Nix. When I say trade up, I do not mean trading up from 13 up higher. It is you take the best player available at 13, and then you take probably your second-round pick at 44, and then a pick in next year's draft. You use that probably like second or third-round pick to trade up and select Bo Nix in the back half of the first round, or I think literally at right at pick 33, because the New England Patriots pick at 34, and if they don't end up taking a QB in round 3, or at pick number 3, that's where I think New England might be able to steal a guy. But here's the plan that I do think is the most likely. And the reason why that I say it's the most likely is because I had a source tell me over the weekend the Raiders are looking for a veteran quarterback. That doesn't mean that they're going to sign a veteran quarterback, but they are looking at their veteran quarterback options. Davante Adams vouched for Kirk Cousins in a podcast and was one of the biggest people saying that, hey, I support Luke Getsy, and I would want Getsy here as the Raiders offensive coordinator. So, with that being said, you know that Davante Adams has a good relationship with Getsy from their time back in the Green Bay Packers from 2014 to 2017 when Davante was putting up some serious numbers, and Cousins could also be a reliable bridge quarterback. But the reason why you subscribe to the show, the reason why you need to follow along with all the rumors, and yes, I get it, they're rumors, but they are important, it's because of this right here. The report, Cousins is looking for a 2-year deal. That was put out last week. The deal was, sure, he was looking for $45 million guaranteed, $90 million in total, but it should not surprise you that the report comes out, Kirk Cousins looking for a 2-year deal. Then I put out on social media, Raiders offered Cliff Kingsbury a 2-year deal, and everyone's like, well, why isn't that such a big deal? What if your plan is to bring in Cousins on a bridge on a 2-year deal, and then you go to the next guy? If you're Cliff and you don't want to deal with that, then that's a big-time deal breaker. Kingsbury only wants Caleb Williams. And if you know that, this should really speak volumes. On top of that, though, my guy Graphic Raider is one of the most well-connected dudes right now in the nation, especially with Tom Telesco. And when you see this tweet back on January 26, 2024, per source, Telesco likes Bo Nix. I've also been told by my sources, Bo Nix is absolutely a quarterback that Telesco likes. Not a big fan of J.J. McCarthy. Also sees Caleb Williams potentially forcing his way to D.C. to his hometown at number 2. It's not a surprise that Cliff left the Raiders and went to the Commanders, the team that told him that, yes, we're going to do everything in our power to go get Caleb Williams. The bottom line is you need to read the tea leaves. So you go out, you sign Kirk Cousins on a 2-year deal. I don't think it's going to cost you $45 million a year. It's probably going to be about $35 million, though, a year. But if you were Telesco and you knew that you liked Bo Nix and you knew that he wasn't ready to go right away, you draft best player available at 13. You try to build in the draft. You try to save a lot of that draft capital. You invest heavily in free agency in your offensive line and your defense. But the Raiders, then, you go from 44. You try to trade up, let's say, to either back half of round 1 or, again, pick number 33. You go get your guy, Bo Nix, because if Telesco does really like him, and from everything I have heard, he does really like him, he knows that he's not ready to start right away. So, what does also Luke Getsy know? Luke Getsy knows the Packer way, where you draft a QB, you let them learn for 2 years, and then you hand the keys to the car. It should not be a coincidence that all of those things happen in a very short amount of time, which is why I think Plan B is the most likely option for the Las Vegas Raiders, whether you like it or not. So rate my Plan B. Wow. Sign Cousins and draft Bo Nix. If you said right now that the Raiders signed Kirk Cousins, and then they end up drafting Bo Nix the way that I explained it, how would you rate that? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1, you absolutely hate it. 10, you freaking love it. Let me know down below, because for me personally, based on this, I would probably put this in terms of excitement for me personally, I would probably put it at a 3 or 4. It's not the route that I would go if I'm Las Vegas, and I've kind of outlined this idea before, because to me, I don't want to sign a quarterback that you can't use the entire offseason because he's got that ruptured Achilles. It does scare me. But then again, you totally ignored Davante Adams last season, and this is something that Davante wants. So I'm going to listen. I'm going to trust Antonio Pierce makes the right decision. Coming up next here is Raiders Plan C at quarterback. I want Plan C to happen. I'll tell you that right now. I think a lot of Raider fans want Plan C to happen. And what if Cousins goes somewhere else? Well, then Plan B is shot. What happens if you know that you're not going to be able to trade up to number 1? This is where Plan C and Plan D come around. If anybody wants to party with Jeremy Chuggs and I, big game watch party this Sunday. It's going down, and I want y'all to pull up here with the entire nation. Where? At the Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel inside Ahern Live Showroom. Here is the address. Put it in your phone right now. It starts at this time, though. I've been told they might open the doors up a little early. If you want to reserve your spot, it's chatsports.com/biggame. That link's available to you down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. If you want to reserve a seat, there are 2 different packages that you can do, $99 and $149. If you want to get on the show, I'd say VIP package. Unlimited drinks and unlimited food. If you want to see what the food and drinks are, again, it's all listed in there at that link. It is free to attend, but there is limited space. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the nation's been showing out. So if you were like, oh, Mitch, I'm going to wait to show up and not get my ticket, you can. But I have seen how many reservations have been made, and I'll tell you this, I would feel a lot better if you know for a fact that you want to go, just get the all-you-can-eat, all-you-can-drink deal, because that way I know for a fact that you're going to be able to get in, because it's getting crowded. I'm just telling you right now. One more time, reserve your spot, chatsports.com/biggame. Let's go to Plan C. So, Jayden Daniels, you try to trade up to number 1, it didn't work. Cousins, Bo Nix, let's say, Kirk Cousins gone to free agent, that plan doesn't work. Plan C is this. You trade to number 3. And out of all the ideas, this one is the one that I like the most. And I know what people are going to say. How can you trade to number 3, Mitch? They're not going to give it up. Well, if you've actually followed a lot of the reports that have been coming out of New England over the past 24 hours, one of the guys that's the most well-connected Patriots insider, Phil Perry from NBC Boston Sports basically said that the New England Patriots might not draft a quarterback in the top 3. And he's kind of making a case that the Patriots could trade for Justin Fields, more of the idea of, if you're New England, you take Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 3. You trade for Justin Fields, who thinks that could be the quarterback that you're potentially looking for. So you trade your 2nd or 3rd round pick for Justin Fields. You draft Marvin Harrison Jr. And if that ends up happening, well, then if you're the Raiders, you could already just be at number 3. So if you're wondering, Mitch, what could it potentially cost to get to number 3? It's this. And this is the trade that I've thrown out there before. To get up to 3, Raiders get the number 3 overall pick. The Patriots, they get number 13 and number 77, so your 1st and 3rd round pick. Yeah, you get a 1st round pick in 2025 and then a starting caliber player. Let's just say you send Jacoby Myers back to New England if that's a guy that they want, because the Raiders are going to try to add some vertical passing threats this year. I'm telling you right now, they're going to try to do it. Is this a lot to give up? Sure, but it's a lot less than what the 1st overall pick is. And I know you don't know exactly who that quarterback is going to be. And if you're not sold on Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake Maye, you don't make that trade. I do make that trade. I am sold on Drake Maye. I am sold on Jayden Daniels. I am sold on Caleb Williams. I'll admit, Caleb ain't coming to the Raiders. He's going to go to the Commanders. So if you're trading that 3, you know in the back of your mind, I got a chance to get Jayden Daniels. I got a chance to get Drake Maye. Those are odds I'm willing to take, because both of those QBs to me are going to be great quarterbacks in the National Football League. That's why Plan C is actually my favorite plan. But guess what? There's a chance that Plan C doesn't happen, because there's a chance that the New England Patriots don't trade number 3. So then what do? This is where you got to go to Plan D here. And Plan D is, you like to roll dice. You like Las Vegas. You like to get a little bit risky here, because Plan D is where all the risk is involved. But sometimes you got to do that when you're in Vegas. So my risky plan is this. You sign a cheap free agent quarterback. My cheap free agent quarterback is not Kirk Cousins. It is, can I potentially get Russell Wilson on the $1.21 million deal? And you're like, Mitch, that's never going to happen. Go watch my Russell Wilson video on the Raiders Report. Look up on YouTube, Russell Wilson, Raiders Report. It's going to be a picture of Russell Wilson literally pointing to a Raiders logo. Click on that, and that'll explain everything of why I do actually think Russell will sign the vet min. So you go cheap quarterback like Russell Wilson, or maybe you sign a Ryan Tannehill. It's gross. I get it. Ryan Tannehill's a gross option. Or maybe you try to stick with Aidan O'Connell. But the idea is this. You sign a cheap veteran QB in free agency, and then you hope that maybe Jayden Daniels falls, that maybe a quarterback falls in the draft, because every year there are QBs that fall. And you don't know exactly what's going to happen in the draft. And if Jayden Daniels doesn't fall, well, then you can potentially trade up for a Bo Nix in the back half of round 1. And the reason why you don't let it get to round 2 is because if you know that you're at this point and you've tried all of your options, this is where I think the Raiders go, still best player available at 13, but then they try to trade up into the early 20s to try to get their guy in Bo Nix. That's Plan D. So here's one more time the Raiders quarterback plan for this upcoming season. Plan A, Jayden Daniels. That's the guy that they want. I know for a fact it's the guy that the Raiders want. And in a perfect world, Jayden Daniels is the Las Vegas Raiders quarterback this season. Well, let's say you can't trade up to number 1 and guarantee yourself getting Jayden. Plan B is Kirk Cousins and Bo Nix. Get that through your head, because everything that I've heard, this is the most likely option for the Raiders. It's not the option that they 100% want, but this is the most likely option. Plan C, you trade to number 3, and then you just hope that one of your top quarterbacks is there, and you don't look at free agency. Plan D, you bring in that cheap quarterback, and then you roll the dice in the draft. Hopefully, Jayden Daniels falls, and if he does fall, you try to go get him then. Or if he doesn't fall, he goes in the top 3, then you try to go get Bo Nix. Bottom line is the 3 quarterbacks that have the most likely chance to be on the Raiders this season, it's Jayden Daniels, Kirk Cousins, and Bo Nix. So, most likely option is Plan B, Cousins and Nix. My favorite option is Plan C, trading up to number 3, and then that gives you a shot at Jayden Daniels. It gives you a shot at Drake Maye. If you think that there's any options that I missed, hey, let me know. Again, this is a prediction. This is a projection. This is based on me taking all the rumors, taking off all the news that has been out there, based on me talking to the people that I've talked to over the past week and putting all this information together in a video. This is what I believe the Raiders' plan is at quarterback for 2024.